Hello and welcome to this Employability Skills Programme session on making sense of your challenge. I'm Nick Fannin from Bright Red Triangle, which is the enterprise hub for Edinburgh Napier University. I'm going to talk to you about how you can use entrepreneurial tools, methods and principles to help you and your team to figure out how you're going to tackle the challenge you've been given. The first thing we have to do is define or frame the challenge. That should be straightforward enough, right? You are clever university students, you've already built a team and you're ready to go, right? Well, I'd like to start with a word of caution. Please do not assume that you know everything. It's an easy trap to fall into, that we know exactly what we're dealing with. But the reality often can be quite different, and you need to start to be careful about the assumptions that you make. This session is an introduction to the ESP toolkit that will help you to think about how you approach the challenges that you face, and I want to illustrate my first point by using an example. Here we have a picture of a woman who seems to be reaching for something on a high shelf, and I'm asking the question, what does this woman need? Usually when I ask the question, people are quick to assess the situation and jump in with answers. The first answer I tend to get is a ladder or a chair. Look, there's one right there. These are not the right answers to the question, what does this woman need? I would also like to point out that in a world where gender equality is still an issue, the answer is definitely not a man. So what does this woman need? Well, that's what we need to figure out. A ladder or a chair might be the solution to a problem, but they're not necessarily what she needs. She might need to reach the high shelf, but she might also need to rest her legs or relieve her sore back or remember where she left her keys. You see, the scenario is a little bit more complex than it first appeared. There could be more than one problem that we are facing. The first thing we have to do is figure out which problem we are trying to solve. That's what I mean by defining or framing the problem. I have a quote here from Donald Rumsfeld, who was the US Secretary of State in 2002. He said, "There are things we don't know that we don't know." As your research progresses and new information is revealed, you'll need to keep reframing your challenge to fit the context. This is something that you may have to do more than once during the course of this challenge. As you start to better understand the challenge you're facing, new problems may present themselves, and you may decide that these are the things that you need to fix rather than the problem that you started with. New opportunities will also present themselves, and you will have to decide at various points whether to set off in a different direction in order to develop an idea that will have a bigger impact. I want to talk a little about good ideas. They tend to sit in the sweet spot in the middle of these three lenses. You need to consider the desirability, feasibility and viability of your solution to the challenge. But you should always start with desirability. Desirability is what people want or need. Desirability is about what someone wants and will pay for. Something that solves a problem usually. It might provide a stakeholder gain. It might be something they don't know they need yet. And if you solve it well, the customers will pay a premium for it. Feasibility is whether your solution is technically or operationally possible. Can it be done? Viability is about how you sustain it. Is there a business model that will support it? How do you find the resources to keep it going? Covering all of these bases will ensure that your solution is resilient. So what do we want? Well, we want resilient ideas, discovered with stakeholders and communicated effectively. Simple, but we're not looking for ideas yet. We don't jump straight to finding solutions, as we have to understand the problem first. So where do we start? Well, we start by developing empathy for our stakeholders. The better we understand them, their wants and their needs, the easier it will be to provide a solution that they find desirable. You and your team will need to do some research to better understand your stakeholders. On your ESP Moodle page, you will find various resources, including links to a series of explainer videos offering tools and methods that you can use to help you frame your challenge and understand your stakeholders. The first thing you need to do is to create a stakeholder map. This is basically a list of all the people and organisations that you think will be impacted by you creating a solution to your challenge. This will be your first team exercise and the starting point for your research. We'll go into more detail on the stakeholder maps in another video available on your Moodle page. The next step will be to start to get to know your stakeholders better. An easier way to do that is to talk to them, of course. Remember that the challenge you've been set impacts you all, so start by sharing your own experiences within the team and then think about who else within your existing networks you can talk to. I'd like to add another note of caution here. While it is important to listen to what people are telling you, they often behave quite differently. You have to remember that people are not always reliable. They don't always tell you the truth. Sometimes they tell you a little white lie because it makes them look better. Sometimes they just don't believe that they behave in a certain way. Critical thinking is important. You have to be able to spot the fake news. One way of doing this is through what we call observation. Watch what people do rather than what they say. Be a fly on the wall. Record your observations, record facts and don't interpret them at the same time. Save that for when you have the team together. You'll spark off each other. You can watch or observe a situation or someone doing a task. It could be in a one-to-one meeting or in group forums. The situations could be formal or informal. Try shadowing. Watch how people meet everyday challenges. Look out for deviants, obsessives and psychopaths. I don't really mean that, of course. What I mean is that you should look for people that behave differently from the majority. Usually this means people that are experts in handling the problem you're researching, or people that are encountering the problem for the first time. To return to my clothes storage example, often you will find that these people come up with interesting ways of solving the problem for themselves, and you can learn from their innovation. So what does it all mean? What are the insights? Context, moods, feelings? You have to read between the lines. Are there patterns, connections or themes emerging? Where are the opportunities? Sort your data by themes and categories. How do they relate to each other? Look for patterns of or friction points. Look for things that have been adapted. Look for things that surprise you. Look for evidence of values. Can you rank or layer the information? What are the opportunity areas? Remember that human behaviour is complex, so dig deep. Ask what, how and why a lot. So get out there and immerse yourself in the problem space. Start your desk research to better understand the problem and identify any current available solutions. Develop a stakeholder map to identify relevant people, organisations or institutions. Gather insights into the pain points, challenges that are faced by stakeholders both today and in the future. Observe stakeholders. Talk to them. Ask why a lot. Be visual in the way that you present information. It helps everybody to develop a common understanding. Remember to document your interim findings. And remember also that the deeper your research, the better your solution can be. Thank you and good luck.